Hello, listeners, and welcome to this week's episode of I Never Knew But My Dog Did podcast. As always, I bring you the most amazing and vulnerable guests, and this week does not disappoint. When he reached out, I love different and unique. And it's not that I don't want to talk to coaches and therapists and stuff like that, but I really want to do something different for people that feel like the sort of the mainstream stuff wasn't working for them. And so maybe hearing something unique and different from a guest will say, oh, maybe I could try this thing. So that's what I try to do on this podcast, whether it's a podcast about laughter or, about of course, mental health is always a part of it. As a practitioner, I want to include that and address that. But I also think there's so many other ways and avenues that we can embrace mental health, our mental health struggles that we all have as humans. But I think there's outside of the box ways. And today's guest is just one of those out of the box thinkers. And I was telling him, pardon my voice today. I know you guys know the background of my health struggles for the last few weeks. I'm in speech therapy, so forgive me if my voice kind of goes in or out or if I clear my throat. I'm really sorry. My speech therapist is working with me to not do that, so I'm going to work on that. So I regress. Today's guest, Dominic Lyne, he is a British author, and his journey into the mental health system began at 27 years old. He was in a mentally abusive relationship, as most of us can probably relate, or a lot of us, myself included. He was diagnosed with severe personality disorders and psychosis, which had been present since childhood. Over the next decade, he underwent various intense therapies, witnessed the death of his best friend, and struggled with addiction. Ultimately, he reached a point where he's clean, more at peace, and able to value his past as it is in the past. And this is going to be his story. We're going to talk about his story, and we're also going to talk about the unique way that it has helped him, and I think will also help others. I was telling him that it's something that helps my grandson, and my grandson's going to listen to this episode because I think it's going to resonate with some of the our younger people, maybe our under 30s. So without further ado, I'm rambling. Welcome to my new friend Dominic Lyne. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a long day. Not a nice day, but a long day. It's like 5 o'clock here.
Yeah, you are
But
you are way
it's
further ahead than us. So thank you for doing this. I know after a long day, it's hard to keep that energy up, but thank you so much for being here. So Dominic, what we do here on I Never Knew is we like to share at first our knee story, meaning, those moments in our lives that we were just on our knees feeling hopeless, helpless, and didn't know what else to try or where to go. So, can you share with us? I know as your journey started at 27, can you share with us how it felt and what moment, what you were going through for you, a most pertinent knee story that you've had?
yeah, I think for me, like my what kind of I wouldn't say awakened me, but like made me aware that I don't want to use the word normal, but like what made me aware that I wasn't as like normal was when I just come out of this abusive relationship, and it was like it was literally one of the first times I'd been in a relationship where I let someone take so much control over me that I was um they I was, yeah, so under their thumb, and it was so mentally controlling to the point that they broke me once, and I escaped, and then within 6 months I was back in their lives, and they were doing it again. But the second time, um, I really broke, and I shattered, and it was the lowest I'd ever been, to the point that I mean, I'd always lived like a crazy life, but at this point, my actual physical body was like, no, no, you're going to the doctors. And I would, during the day, I would suddenly start coming out in hives, and they'll be on my arm, little dots on my arm, and by the end of the day, they would be all over my body. And I I thought I was so I was like, oh my God, I've got a disease, I've caught a disease, I've done something. And that literally forced me to the doctors. And yeah, from that point I was seen for like depression. And at the same time, I was still seeing this guy, like, but even with him knowing that I was on antidepressants and this, he started to use that against me. And it was funny because I was saying to you earlier, I was busy this morning, but what I was doing is a few years ago I did a book which was about this kind of period of my life, and it was like artwork I drew, and it was like a diaries of this period, and it was actually this project I was doing working on this morning, and reading the diaries of this time. It's so like the I put even in myself when I think back, and even with this guy in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm over it, but I still have think positively of him. But when I read the stuff he put me through, I'm like,
I know.
that was a lot. And
I relate to
even to
that.
myself, I'm like, wow, you put it's like wow, you and then like when I broke up, when I finally broke up, like broke all ties with him, and then moved on, and then got a new boyfriend. It's like he's back in my life and he's causing havoc again, and he's messing my life up again. And it's like, wow, I forgot all about that. Like, I forgot all about that. And it's only when like he leaves the town and I'm like, my life is normal. But then it's like, wow. And but by that point, I'm in the diagnosing stage of my mental health, where it's like not even a breath of air, because now your entire life is not you anymore. Like you're in. This is. I do lectures with one of my old therapists, and we talk about diagnosing. And one of the things I always say, like, there's a video I show them of like about being diagnosed, and it's about like when you get diagnosed, you lose a sense of who you are,
Yeah.
because all your life you've been, I'm Dom, let's say, I'm Dom, this is me, this is who I am. And as soon as you're diagnosed, it's like, oh no, no, you're this. You're a series
Right.
of points
Oh my gosh,
that
that's
everyone does.
and that is so true. And I was thinking when you were talking about, the ex, I had one that we call crazy. We just go, "Oh, crazy
Mm,
is out there, whatever." And he did the same thing. He would, send messages. I mean, I'm married now and, extremely happy with my husband, but and this was like, God, years and years ago, and he doesn't go away. He's like a snake. I always say, "Oh, the snake popped his head out again." But you're so right.
mm.
You forget what they did, and then I look at stuff just like you reading your diary, and it's like, who was that girl? Who was that girl? Like, what was I thinking? What was I doing? How did I allow that? I'm not that. I'm this strong, confident, don't mess with me person. So and I love that you say that is when you get the diagnosis. Also, as a life coach, I sometimes see the flip side of it, which is now I have a diagnosis. Now I'm identifying as this and I can't let go of this. And this is something I've
Mm.
discussed with my grandson.
This is
And
exactly,
he,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like he jokingly says things. He's like, "Ah, I'm just crazy." And I'm like, "Honey, I love that you're making light of it if that helps you to accept it, but you have to stop identifying as this crazy thing, or, you don't have to say, I have this thing, therefore I act this thing, or I behave this thing, or I have no choice because of this thing. So I'm really happy that you brought that up because there's two sides to that, right?
See the when what you just said about your grandson, when what we call those in systemic therapy is called Finn stories,
Mhm. Tell us about
like
that.
Finn stories, because um it means when people align their kind of like with their diagnosis and say, I am my diagnosis, like I am crazy, it becomes like a very thin story because it's like I had a thin story like after my diagnosis, and I was like, okay, so I'm not this Dom that I was in the past because all of this was this diagnosis and it wasn't me. So now I'm just crazy Dom. You become like you said, like this, I'm crazy, I'm this, and you become this like ghost of who you were, and you're like, um oh, I was this person. But then you're like, but I wasn't, because my brain was just all these chemicals. And then if I take these meds, like my fear was, if I take these meds, who am I going to be? Because I don't know. But
Right.
then as so I would have this fear like because with my diagnosis, it was originally like, oh, you got like my thing I used to have was there's whenever you go into therapy or you see a doctor, it's always about feelings. Like, how do you feel today? How did that make you feel? And I would always, it would always kind of be like, but that's not why I'm here. I'm not here because of how something made me feel. I'm here because my world isn't right.
Mm.
Like this isn't right. And I think like the big breakthrough in like my journey was I remember sitting across from like my psychiatrist, and he was like, "Oh, what's?" And I was like, "No, no, no, you're asking me the wrong question. You need to ask me what world am I feeling these things in? Because you know I'm seeing people walk through my flat when I'm home alone, and I when I'm get angry, I'm seeing myself go like this and go like that to someone, and then waking up like this and just still being behind someone. I said, this is what's happening. And they were like, okay, yeah, there's something deeper that we need to evaluate. And then they're like, yeah, okay, you've got psychosis. You've had this since you were a child. And then they were like, okay, this is, and then they get the explanation. So then it's like, once you've got that explanation, it's I took it I took it as a way that the my world was my world. So I kind of gained some control back because I couldn't have done anything different.
Right, right.
But
That's your reality. It's your reality. And
yeah,
what I love is that, and I want listeners, I want you to really hear what Dom is saying, because he's saying you have to tell your therapist, your life coach, your psychiatrist, your psychologist, your counselor, tell them what you need. This is not a one size fits all
mm,
thing when it comes to therapy. And I love so much. In fact, I have chills that you said you're not asking the right questions. Because I love it when my clients are like, here, let's go in this direction, because I can't know everything about someone who needs, my help. So I love it when I'm guided to focus on this area or this section. That's amazing. And I want to say this, Dom, what I love that you said it was your reality. What world am I feeling these things in? But it's all your world, right? It's your psychosis
mm,
world, your multiple personality, whatever it is. I think it's disempowering, like you said, when you get a diagnosis and then you let that be your identity. And I do it too. I do
Yeah.
it too. I have attention deficit disorder, and I'm always like, well, there's my squirreling. I'm squirreling again. Or, you know
Mm.
me, I don't pay attention. I do the same thing. And even I know not to do that, but I do that as well. So I love everything that you're saying, and that it's okay to say, hey, this is not working for me, and this is what my world looks like. Now you have to work to my standard, not your
Yeah.
textbook questions and such. I want to get to your childhood and what happened with your best friend that was really sort of this catalyst of your life, and what had happened and the belief system that you had from that.
Well, my best friend was actually my adulthood. That was
Oh, okay.
this is yeah. So my best friend was it actually ties in with my therapy. So when I started my mentalization therapy, um, I the boyfriend after the abusive boyfriend went through hell with me because he was the boyfriend that was going through my diagnosing period. So he got a not very nice dom, a very crazy dom, a very temperamental dom, a very I put my hand up and say I wasn't the bestest of people during that time, you know. But again, neither was he. So it's kind of like we were both as bad as each other. But during that period, I wasn't really in uh making friends kind of mode. Um, but during that time, we were at a party, and there was this girl, and she asked me something like, "Oh, are you going to put makeup? Are you putting makeup on?" Because everyone else was glamming up for this thing, and I was like, "No, me, I don't wear makeup like this. I'm not going to do any eyeliner like this." And from that point on, every time we went out, she would be there in the background, getting closer, always following me around, and I'd be like, "Oh, who is she? Why is she following me?" Like, oh, like this. And then eventually we're at my partner's house, and um we just sat one night and we just sat and talked, and we had a really nice chat, and we bonded. And then after that we just got closer and closer. But it was always like her putting this time in to want to be my friend. And then when I broke up with that boyfriend, um again, she was like, I want to stay friends with you. I know I'm in the friends group of your other of your boyfriend's friends group."
Okay.
And again, like when I broke up with my boyfriend, it was literally I broke up with him. A lot of my friends group had ditched me because I was with that friends group. But of course, when I broke up with him, all my friends group that I lost all that friends group. I was on my own, and then I was starting this big intense therapy. And she was like, "You know what? I'm gonna stick with you." And from that, this friendship just gr- blew blew up into this best friendship. But in my kind of entire life up to that point, no one had shown such interest in me. And it was like I was so rude to you the first time I met you. And I would say to us like, why? Like, why did you, even though I was like, yeah, go away to you, like didn't give you any time of day. And she was just like, there was something about you that I wanted to know, and I wanted to get to know, and I wasn't going to stop until I was your best friend. And I was like, I'm so glad you did. I'm so glad you did. And so yeah, so we became this really tight, like we became this friends group that when we'd go to say like an after party or we were out in a club, no one would bother coming over to talk to us or sit next to us because they know they wouldn't get a word in edgeways. It was just like, oh, there's Dominic. There, you're you're not even gonna get a word in. Like even like my other friend, she didn't get a word in. But during it was like, and then when I after the sort of when I started the therapy, for the mentalization for the borderline personality disorder. Um, when I started that, it said on the thing you can't be psychotic when you or have a psychosis when you do it. So of course I was psychotic.
Mhm.
So obviously the stress of that, I ended up going and everything else. I ended up being like going back on to like going onto heroin, and eventually they found out about the psychosis and they did what I said. They altered the therapy to allow me to be psychotic and do the therapy.
Mm.
Um, but when I told her, like she was the only person out of the like the friends, there was only like three of like the friends group that I did the heroin with that we knew. But outside of that, she was the only person I told that what had happened and I was like on the heroin. And she was the only person she didn't judge me. She kind of tried to understand. And she didn't like broadcast it. She didn't judge. She kind of watched it, and as it like went on, she was like, right, when you want to come off, I'm gonna help you get off. I'm gonna do it with you. I'm gonna do all this. So it was like,
I love that she didn't give you this ultimatum like a lot of people
yeah,
do with addicts, right? And
yeah,
and you know, listeners, I'm sure we all experience an addict in our life, whether it's, you know, alcoholism or drugs or overeating, something. It's not a choice to be an addict. It is not. It is not a choice to have mental health illness. It's an escape. The addiction is the escape from these things you didn't have a choice from. And what I love so much about what she did for you was when you're ready, not I can't have anything to do with
mm,
you. This is terrible. I don't want nothing to do with you and go to rehab and maybe we can still be friends. But she, through love, and
mm,
also sort of a tough love when you're ready. So I love
mm,
that, and I think we could all take from that with someone who is an addict in our lives, just to say we have to have boundaries. We have to say this isn't healthy, and I can't maybe watch this when you're doing this. But when you're ready, I will support you. And I
mm,
support you trying. As long as you are trying, I support that. So thank you for letting me inject that. I appreciate that.
mm. And then so um yeah, but then obviously because the therapy was so intense and so hard and so like I was I just wasn't really connecting to it, and I got really depressed. And I was reaching my 30s, so obviously I was having the 30-year kind of breakdown of like, oh my God, what have I done in my life? I'm not even a person anymore, drama. Um, but yeah, so I went when I was like about when I was 13, I was gonna hit the like that Christmas. I was like really low. I'm done. I made a decision. I'm just gonna end it. That's it. I'm done now. And I sat with her and I said to her, right, I need to tell you this. And I told her. And again, even with that conversation, she was like so selfless. So like she was just like, you know what, like, yes, I'll be really upset. I'll be this. But, not like most people are like, oh my God, you're so selfish, you're so this. It was like, if you do it if you want, but if you do, just know you're going to be losing out this. You're going to be losing out this.
Yeah.
You're never going to see this. And every point she made was about me and what I would be cutting short, and nothing about her, nothing about anyone else. And one of the things, and this is like ended up being one of the big things in my grief was that we always said we'll say goodbye. before, just so you could just make sure we said goodbye. So that Christmas when I was at my mum's, I was like, right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna give myself an overdose. And as I was about to do it, I was like, oh shit, I didn't say goodbye. And that's kind of what stopped me from doing it because I was like, oh no, I've got to say goodbye. So in that kind of essence, like she kind of saved me. Um, and then yeah, that year we carried on. But then sort of in the May, we'd gone out for a weekend and there was just something about the weekend from the very beginning that was off, really off. Knowing you can feel there's this bad energy. And we went out and even at the night it was just problem after problem. We came back and then yeah, we thought she was having like a asthma attack, but it was a heart attack. And and it happened in my flat. It was just me and her and it happened and then yeah, so yeah. And then
That had to be
yeah, that
so
was it.
hard, just like right with her. And she probably is around she was the same age as you, around the same age as
Yeah,
you. So that's
yeah, she
not
was
something you would,
yeah, it,
expect.
but it was it was just that like the weekend it happened was like I we made plans that, oh we're gonna move here we're gonna go here we're gonna do this and then so it was like one of those weekends where you've made all these future plans and then it happens out of the blue and it's when you're in that kind of situation you both don't know what's going on and it's like you're doing your best and then this happens and then suddenly you've got all these like strangers around it and it's like oh and then you're then this is happening out here and you're in your front room and your illogical brain is like oh fuck where's my cat
Hmm. Hmm.
and then you're like oh
Kind
my
of a
God.
denial moment, like
Yeah and it's
taking
like and then you
yourself out of it
yeah
and yeah, like a
and
bird's
it's
eye
like
view. Okay.
and it's like oh my God I feel so bad because I thought this and I didn't and it's like crazy
You
like
said
and
something in
I
your questionnaire that really stood out to me. And I'm going to say this. I love that there's so many things that you're covering in this discussion, from addiction to the psychosis to the borderline person. You're really amazing that you're sitting in front of us, suicidal ideation. Look at all the things you've done. That's one of the things in my coaching that is important is that when we tell our story and we tell these tick marks of what we did, what were that are negative, but I like to say, look what you overcame. This, all those tick marks of what you
mm,
overcame. You're just fascinating to me and I love it. One of the things that you said in the questionnaire that like completely like just got me in the heart was you said if I ever share anything about my mental illness, that person will die. And you related that to your best friend because she's the
mm,
only one that really knew.
it's
And I feel so
this
bad that guilt really ate you up.
like I I'd seen like this shadow man from and this is like I'd seen this shadow man like since I was a kid and I'd always seen it and like my voices when I'd started hearing them they'd said to me when I was 13 if you tell anyone about this they'll die so of course it's like oh I'm not going to do this and then when I so for years it was no, can't tell anyone about all this stuff. So when I started in therapy, talking to psychiatrists, it was like, oh, I'm talking to these people and they're still alive each week. Um, Nothing's happened to them. Maybe it's okay to talk about it. And then I was talking to Tree about it, and she was like, "Oh yeah, this is really messed up." And I said, "Yeah, this is what like, you're the only person I've ever spoke to about it. You're the only person I think I can talk to about it and not take the piss out of me and not be like, oh my God, you're so crazy." I said, because this is my reality. And then literally the the night before she died, I was sat like kind of where I am now in my room and looking at this door. And I looked up and I saw the shadow man walk into the room and just look at her and then just disappear. But she saw me look up and look at it and she was like, "Who are you looking at?" And I was like, "Oh, it's the shadow man. He's just standing there staring at you." And she was like, "Oh, that's creepy." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I know." And then the next day, she's gone, like gone.
Gosh, who wouldn't believe that? Who wouldn't think that that
Yeah.
was, related?
And then
I
yeah,
would believe
and
it.
then
Yeah.
and then the next day, I like obviously when it happened, I was the only person in the flat. So when the police turn up, I'm suspect number one and only suspect. So I'm taken away, and then when I come back, everything's gone. So I leave and she's there. And I come back and it's gone. So it's like, and I walk in my flat and I'm like, what did I do? Like, why am I still here? Why is she? But like, she's the nice one. She's the like successful one, and then there's me. Why am I still here? Like, I wanted to die like 6 months ago. Like, why am I still here? And
Yeah.
it's like, well, we told you not to tell her. And it's like, that's what
Wow.
my voice straight away says. We told you not to tell her. We warned you. And it's like instant, like bam. And it's like, fuck.
And it's so
And
deeply ingrained in your belief system from 13
yeah,
years on. I mean, how
yeah.
do you believe anything different? You know?
And then I'm like, and then I go, but I've been telling these psychiatrists, and the voices reply, yeah, but they think you're lying.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
And
wow.
it's like, so already I've got this of this, but then I've also got this double kick of, oh fuck, all these people that are treating me, they just think I'm bullshitting. And it's like, wow, like,
Dom, I want to stop you for a minute and just say something. Listeners, can you even imagine? I, I've been, with a lot of people who have mental health issues, I mean, my family included. And one of the things that I say is, I'm so sorry you're going through this. I'm so sorry you've gone through this. I'm so sorry that you contracted for these difficult things in your life so you can learn. And I know that sounds like, Marie, what the hell are you talking about? I would not have asked for this. I get it. Nobody would
mm,
ask for death. Nobody asks for psychosis. Nobody asks for it. But the way that you have turned everything so you were not comfortable talking to one single person about it, and you're now on a podcast. And we are in the
mm,
top 2.5% globally. So think about that, Dom. Look at the success that you have done. Like you're going from this place of I have this belief that anybody I tell is going to die. And now I'm okay and I can share it and I know that it's for good. And
mm,
that's why I asked for that experience because I wanted to pay that forward and tell everybody. And that is just magical. It's magical to me.
mm.
And when I always say the greater the pain, the greater the growth. And you are an example of that. I want to know, what do you believe about yourself now and your mental diagnosis? What is the thing that has helped you have the acceptance and move forward? And then we're going to talk about some of the things that you've done with the coping mechanisms, which I absolutely love. So, what do you believe about yourself and the diagnosis that you have?
Now, I think what helped me a lot more was when I ended up like with one of my partners in my 30s, we went to relationship therapy because I was kind of because of the mentalization I'd done it for so long, I was kind of cut out from singular therapy. So my psychiatrist was like, okay, you're gonna go to relationship couples therapy. And that's where I met the therapist I work with called Helene. I still work with her, but like doing lectures, and she was amazing. But it's the therapeutic ways, like the systemic therapy. But she's very much that you're not your diagnosis. And when I met her, I was very much I am borderline, I am like schizotype, or I am this. And she was like, no, 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 you're not. There's a person in there that you're not this, and it's that kind of therapy really helped me reclaim a lot of who I was because like my partner at that time again wasn't a very good partner but I'm glad I got the therapy because it really helped me understand relationships and how relationships work a lot better than group therapy because it's dealing with someone you care about. But it made me realize like I've written a lot about my life in my work. So people always kind of refer back and go like, "Oh, I you did this, like you used to be like this." I'm like, "I know, but I'm not like that anymore."
Yes.
So so he would always refer to this one book as, "I want that Dom. I want him to be like that." And I'd be like, "Yeah, but that person doesn't come with this calm and this niceness that I've now got and this calm that I have now, that Dom comes with all this temper, this shortness, this like anger and
Yeah.
confusion. I said, so if you want that Dom, you have to take that Dom as he was at that time. You can't pick and choose a bit you want. It's
Right.
like, I'm here. I now know. Like it's like I think the best way I kind of describe it now is that I kind of exist in like my world with an understanding of like their world.
Hmm.
So um like my how I see the world and how my beliefs about the world I still believe in. And I know it's really crazy but I'm older now and I don't want to relive a really crazy life. So I take my meds now because I know I can get a little bit of easier life if I take them.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And that's important. You're like, I know what works for me and I have to do it. You know what I'm hearing is there's this shift and I love your therapist because she sounds so much like me. I'm like, you are not this. We are not going to let
Mm,
you identify as this thing and stay in this I call it the hamster wheel. Get off that hamster
mm,
wheel. And what I'm hearing from you once you started a healthier therapy, which I think gosh, Helene is amazing. What I'm hearing is more acceptance of
mm.
this is my journey and
Yeah,
who I was isn't who I am or who I'm going to be. And that acceptance, because if we stay stuck
yeah.
in a belief system that says I'm always going to be this thing, I'm not going to be any better. It's kind of like before sort of I had my mindset shift, I was always like, maybe next life it'll be better. Everything bad always happens to me. I had this terrible negative mindset because I was raised in sort of that negative thought. It was like the sky could be blue, but there'd be a gray cloud, and my parents would point out the gray cloud, and God love them, that's the way they were raised. And they're,
Mm,
so here we are ancestral, we're just passing it on. But it is a choice, no matter what your diagnosis is, mental health wise, to say, I don't have to be controlled by this. I am reclaiming,
Yeah,
which is your word, reclaiming who I am as a person and who I want to be. And anyone who doesn't like the person I am now, they're not supposed to be in my world. They're supposed to be, I've moved past that. And that's a hard thing to do is
yeah,
letting go of those people that don't belong in this higher place that you're going to, right?
yeah, exactly. And like I think the benefit of allowing myself to have my world and be like, it's valid. I exist in here. Also, when it does get a bit crazy, I can look at it from the perspective of, say, the normal world and be like, you know what? Like, nothing really crazy seems to be happening from that perspective. So, you know what? Maybe I can just chill out a bit because maybe I'm wrong. I allow myself this um portion of being wrong. Like in the past, it was always I'm right, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. This gray area that I'm not always right or wrong. I might be wrong.
I love that you're allowed to have an in between now. It's
Yeah.
not doesn't have to be black and white. And a lot of times our mental illnesses say it has to be
Mm,
this way or this way. But there's kind of a happy place in the middle. I have learned that, sort of
mm.
sitting and being. And one of the things that you also said that I absolutely love when I ask on the questionnaire, what is the one thing you never knew? And tell our listeners what it is that you said. This relates, I think, to that middle area. So tell our listeners what you said.
It was the pause, wasn't it? The
Yes.
ability to pause.
Yes.
Um, because you're always told, um, like when you grow up, oh, think like stop 10 seconds before you react and you know, and it always seems so stupid. And I remember even when I did the mentalization therapy, you were told, don't count to 10 before you react. And even then in that therapy, I was like, why? Are the other people doing the same? And the therapist would be like, well, no, they're not. They do it naturally. They're not thinking to do it. And I was like, well, why should I have to do it? 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 And again, it was like, um, I was so like, nope, 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 nope. And then it was like with, um, like everyone would tell me. I remember even Tree used to say to me, just, just breathe before you react. And again, I wouldn't. I'd always this. And then again, it was like with Helene in that therapy, she would be like, you know, you know, you know what the biggest problem in like kind of relationships is? It's the learnt behaviors, and it's where one partner will say something, and instantly the other partner says no, or instantly, even if it's just not, they don't even think about it. They just say no out of habit, and then think and go, oh, actually, I didn't mean that. But that instant no triggers the reaction in the other partner. And I was like, okay. So I'd start doing it with my partner at the time. He would say something that he knew would trigger me, and I wouldn't react. I would change it, and you could see it stump him. And he'd be like,
You're not
oh,
reacting to me. I wanted a
yeah.
reaction. No, you're
And then
so you're
I,
so right because
and then I'd do like I took it up to I went when I went to see my mum, and my brother was there, and they would rile each other up, and I would just say to my mum, don't react, hold your breath, and don't react. The same thing would happen to them.
yeah.
Stopped all their arguments in like just this one little bit of advice, stopped all the arguments in like one day,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
It's like that pause, and it's changed so much, like everything in like even when like I get an angry email or someone contacted me or the crazy ex emails me out of nowhere, it's like,
Yes. It's
oh,
amazing
look at this
because,
tomorrow.
your instinctual thing to do, your subconscious, which is just a record keeper of the facts. So if you watched your parents, argue, instantly, or you've been around people who are very reactive, that's just like a fact that's been sort of placed into your subconscious, right? That's a record keeper. I've seen this. This is what happens when this
Mm,
happens, and changing that. It is this conscious effort to say, like you said, Mom, just stop, just hold your breath. Also, what I think would work, or what worked really well for you too, is to, when you have voices that tell you a certain thing about yourself, and I call it negative
mm,
self-talk, it's hard to hear them and also change a behavior. So by taking those counting to 10 moments, you can tell them, I call them passengers on a bus. You're the driver. You can tell them to shut up. Tell the passengers to shut up. Don't turn
mm,
around because you're going to crash. You're the driver, and you can just tune out those passengers. That's what that, I believe,
mm.
that counting to 10 moment does, is it helps me to
Yeah.
continue to be the driver, and it helps me to tune out all those passengers that have really just a bunch of nonsense to say. And so I love that idea. Now I want to get to something that really is magical, and what really caught my eye and why I wanted you on today is, listeners, Dominic, he writes poetry. And I think poetry is magic. And as an author of two children's books and two nonfiction, I could never write a poetry book. Like, I'm absolutely in awe of people who can write poetry. So tell us about your book. Tell us about how you came to write the poetry and publish it, to put that out there in the world, just like your story, and then how our listeners can find it. And then I'm going to do wrap us up, and I have a little segment a little funny question that I want to ask you before we go. So tell us about your poetry.
So with this collection, especially, one year, every year, like even when I'd kind of like, whenever I get round to the anniversary of Tree's death, I would obviously use more. And then one year, I was like, you know what, this year, I'm not going to use for this anniversary. I'm not going to use heroin. I'm not going to do drugs. I am going to write poetry. I've not dealt like, I'm gonna try and deal with my grief in a completely different manner. I'm gonna write poetry. And I did. And that the poetry of that time is what is makes up, like, in the book is in like two acts and an intermission in the middle. And the first act is 23 poems written around this time. And that year, around her anniversary, we ended up going to France that year as well. So it was kind of like a good time to be in as well. So um, it was kind of nice to be away, but it was also the first one of the first times I was away, that I couldn't physically go to like her graveside around that time. So I had to go after the anniversary. So it was quite a emotive year. And it helped. Like, I was surprised and it helped. So I was like, okay, that's done. Um, and I tried, like, after that was done, I was like, that collection's done. This project's finished. I'm done. But then I sat on it because it's personal, and I was like, I'm gonna sit on this. I'm not gonna, it's precious, you know. And then the intermission part of the book was written during COVID,
Okay.
and there are only like a few poems in it. But it was during COVID that I was referred to for the PTSD therapy, the EMDR. And it was at this point that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna face my grief. And I'm going to allow myself to to move on and face it. And I think for me, COVID was a full stop in that that friendship because there's no way I could imagine her in a post-COVID world. Like she just doesn't exist there. Like there's a line in one of the poems like, could COVID have even happened if she'd been alive? Like, you know, it's so unfathomable that she's not here. And it's like I can't put her here. So this little section is like covers like this idea of like, right, I'm preparing to move on. And then the final act is called 24. And part of your trauma therapy is you've got to move your story forward.
Hmm.
So 20 the 24th poem is the continuation of the 23 of the first act. And in it, it's me poetically moving that story forward. So it's literally one long poem to to like the first act is anger. It's all my raw emotion. There's no real conclusion to it. It's
Mhm.
just, you know, there's nowhere for the anger to go because it's grief.
Yeah.
And then in the last act, it's me facing this and realizing and accepting that there's anger that I don't need, there's grief that's always going to be there, and also the imperfection of her. Like, you know, it's like the book isn't a memorial to her, it's not a benediction to her.
Hmm.
It's the book is she's the subject of the book, but her absence is also the subject of the book.
Right. Right. And you
So
and you
it's like
processing
her absence
through.
is also her being there and her absence. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's
Oh.
like that's
That's amazing. And
so
I think it's valuable because I think everybody has experienced some type of grief at one time, and it doesn't matter who it was that left. It's grief has those stages, and to put that in poetically in a process, I think that's fantastic. That's why I'm so excited now. Tell us the name of it, where it's available, and where our listeners can find you. What website can they reach out to you on?
the title of the book is The Sky Was Empty, but Still the Thunder Rolled. And it's available from all online book retailers. If you're still shopping at Amazon, it's from Amazon, but it's also available at Barnes and Noble and Waterstones.
Love it.
Um, and
I'm getting
I
it.
can be
I'm buying that
contacted
for
through my website, which is dominiclyne.com.
perfect. And I'll have that in the show notes, listeners, for you, so you don't have to memorize that right now. But that way you can reach out to him. Tell him how amazing he is. Tell him how inspiring he is. And if he made a difference in your life or his poetry makes a difference in your life, that validation is so cool to just feel that all the pain that you had been through, then you have this outlet that you put this in. It's like the podcast. When people give me a good review, it's like, oh, it's not that I have to have validation, but man, as a human, it still feels really good that I can help others and they let me know that it makes a difference. So I really want that um, for you, Dominic. I can't thank you enough for being here today. I knew this would be fantastic. You're an amazing human, and I just think you are strong enough, and this is what I tell a lot of people, the greater the pain, the greater the growth. But I also say this, You are not given anything you are not strong enough to handle. And when someone comes to me with a story like yours, I go, wow, you're so strong and you're so brave to have asked for that journey, for that road. That's impressive because some people have sort of an easy life. Well, they didn't want a challenge. They didn't want all these things that were going to just tear them apart and they had to
Mm,
build themselves back together. That's how I see life. I always see it like no matter what you're going through, it has a purpose. Nothing is for nothing. I believe that we don't, there's no wasted time. There's no wasted experience. Everything has their purpose for whatever it is. I always say the first half of my life was learning, the second half is teaching. And so I can't look back at the first half and be like, that was
mm,
rubbish. That sucked. And I wish I don't even remember it. Why would I not want to remember it? Because I was strong enough to go through it and it
mm.
brings me to the place where I can teach and help others. So be great when we come grateful full circle for the pain and the experience, then we know we're healing, right? That's the best place. So
Yeah,
I thank
totally.
you so much. And I'm buying the book. I am buying your book for my grandson because he loves poetry. He
Thank you.
writes poetry and I just can't wait to get, I love the title. The sky was empty, but still the thunder rolled. Listeners, go get that on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, from our fantastic British friend, Dom. I'm so happy that you were here today. So as I close up, I want to ask you,
Been a pleasure.
I have little segments that kind of lighten things up because we have some heavy stuff, but I love to leave us on a
End on brightness.
positive. Yes, on a positive note. So I have a question for you. This segment is called Because I Need It, and I want to know what is the weirdest thing you've ever bought?
Weirdest thing I've ever bought. Ooh, I don't know. That's a hard one.
I know nothing like putting you on the spot, huh?
I don't
Anything
know.
that
I
people
know,
would.
right? Like,
Well, first of all, I'm going to say this. The yellow couch.
ooh.
I am loving the yellow couch, but of course, knowing me, I love what's on the yellow couch. And
My
listeners,
little doggy.
yes, if
You
you're
should have seen
not,
her. You should have seen her actually before you joined. She was sat upright, already like prim and proper, as if she knew she was going to be on camera.
I
But
love
then she
it.
sat down as soon as like you joined.
She's a little
No, the
lady.
weirdest thing. I wouldn't say the weirdest thing I've ever bought because I generally don't buy much things. But I think the weirdest thing I ever got was I adopted a psycho cat. That was it. I adopted my friend's cat, and she was a psycho. Like, she was an abused cat, which is why I adopted her. But for like the first 2 months she was here, like no one could go near her. She just sat on top of the wardrobe, giving you the looks of disgust. And she was really violent and really vicious. And it got to the point where even I was like, you know what? She's gotta go. She's gotta go. Like this cat's gotta go. And as soon as I said that this cat's gotta go, she comes walking past with her tail up like this. Because like up to then I thought she'd broken her tail. Like even the person I got the cat from was like her tail's broken because it's like down all the time. And I was like, oh, okay. But then as soon as I said she's gotta go, the tail comes up like this, and she comes walking past, rubbing past my leg, and I'm like,
Oh,
okay, cat, you're
see,
staying. You're staying.
see, that just validates everything that I talk about in my books, guys. And what am I telling you? Animals and children are so much smarter than we are. And all it needed was just that love from you,
Yeah.
knowing, sensing that vibration that you needed love too. And she needed love, and you guys found each other. And oh my God, what a perfect
And
ending.
I'm not a cat person. That's why it was crazy because I'm not a cat person.
Oh yes you are. People say they're not a dog
Everyone was
person.
like, "Why have you got a cat? Why have you got a cat?" I'm like,
Because you didn't know you were a
Destiny.
cat person. Right, exactly. All right. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much for that. And guys, I'll give you all the information in the show notes to get a hold of Dominic. And I hope you really enjoyed him. I mean, what a journey, what a vulnerable story, what a hero to me to share those deepest, darkest things. I mean, think about it. Not everybody can do that. And the fact that Dom is like, here it is, here I am, I accept me and I reclaim me, and that's empowering. And I just love that so much. Speaking of empowering, as you all know, I am a master life coach specializing in relationships, self confidence, and self worth. And I would love to help you reclaim and accept yourself as well, and find some self-love and change your life the way that Dom did. And that shift of the before and the after. Let's let the after be just an amazing part of your story and your journey. So you can find me at lifecoachmaureen.com. And if you're not ready for coaching, you can read my books, which have a lot of tips. And of course, the dogs are actually the teachers. And so my dog is more enlightened than I am. And my dog is my relationship coach, are really helpful for some of the things that Dominic was talking about with the therapies, and how we don't react, and how to be in healthy relationships, what healthy relationships look like. So I write about all of that in My Dog is My Relationship Coach. And then let's not forget my two children's books, because we're going to start off our little guys healthy, 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 mentally well, with this kind of thought, which is mindfulness, acceptance, love. I am a proud ally of the LGBTQ community, and my books are about loving our differences in each other, and seeing the sameness in one another. If we go through this life, this world, looking for commonalities with others, then we're a lot less likely to have divisiveness or have this hatred toward others. And that's my soapbox for today. So I love you all. Until next week, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and most of all, take care of my furry babies. And make sure that you adopt and do not shop, because there's plenty of babies out there that are waiting, even if they seem like they're traumatized, like Dom's cat. They're just waiting to be loved. And some of them might take a little while to warm up to you, but they deserve love, and they will give it to you back tenfold. So I love you all, and we'll see you next week.